video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and today we're going to talk about the analog variants of both the Agu-Bond and Gabu-Bond decks. It kind of revolves around using this new tamer from the EX sets. And we're going to talk about the combo real quick, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to look at the list after that. So if you only care about the list, there should be timestamps or links to both lists in the description. But let's just get started here. So let's say it's your turn, you've got 3 memory, and you have your Agumon in raising here. So let's say you move it up, and then you get the tie effects, so you gain a memory, and you get to draw a card. We go into our Bond of Bravery right here for 3. Pretty standard, we get to trash 2 of our securities, so there is a Greymon and Agumon. And so this is where you're at. Let's swing in, lives, whatever. You do your damage, right? And now you just have this one memory. So let's say you play this analog right here. And so, you do the top 3, reveal 1, 2, 3. All right, we'll get another Agumon, all right? We go there. And then after this, so that's for 2. And then end of turn, this dies due to Kai, right? It says, if you delete that Digimon at the end of the turn. So this gets deleted. However, then this analog boy effect activates. So all turns, whenever your level 5 or higher Digimon with a devolution card is deleted, you can suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory and hatch a Digi-Egg. So you suspend it, gain a memory, and you hatch a Digi-Egg. But what's not obvious is that you get to keep your turn. So since all of the pending autos or effects, everything has to finish pending before the turn actually ends. Even though you say you end your turn, you do not, because you go the energy goes back to 0 on your side because of Analog Boy, and then it continues being your turn. So you get to do this additional devolution here, which is so big for this deck. Being able to get another Agumon here, which means you can proc tie again next turn, is really nice, and everything else with it. So that's kind of the idea with it. You're able to kind of get to kind of cheat out hatching another Digi-Egg, which is great for these decks with ties and mats, and just get that extra synergy with Analog Boy, being able to look at the top 3 and everything. So that's the idea for it, but it wasn't straightforward. I wanted to show you guys with the cards and stuff, just so you guys would understand how it works and how kind of end of turn procedures work on that. So let's go look at the list now. So here is the Agumon variant of it. Of the 2, I probably can prefer, for at least the analog variant of it, I do prefer Agumon a little bit more, just because I feel like there's a little bit more synergy with it, but we do have a Gabumon version right after this. So some key choices for it. We do have the Agumon from the EX set right here. So, once attacking, once return, reveal as inheritable, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 Tamer or 1 Digimon with Agumon, and same from them to your hand, and place remaining to the bottom. This can find, obviously copies of itself, but it can also find literally any Tamer, and because it's not color restrictive, and it can just find the Bond of Bravery because it does have Agumon in its name. So that's really good for what we're doing. Helps you with the consistency for this deck. We do run 4 of the analog, and being able to, it kind of takes over the place of like the memory boost I would normally use, especially since this gets around like Gazimon and other, cards that prevent you from gaining memory. So I feel like that is strong for the list. We also are including 2 of the Skull Greymons. I'm not a huge fan of this card. It is a little expensive, but it does get that security attack +1. It can become 11k between, like, if you have either one of these 2 Agumons and your Demi Meramon, this will get +3k because of that. So it's an 11k security attack +1. Then at the end of the attack, it deletes itself. So if that happens, then you can use Analog Youth to tap it, and then you get the memory back. You get to hatch another egg. If it's still your turn, you're in a really good spot, because this is a level 5 with devolution sources. And then you can obviously play an Agumon for free, so you can play maybe the top 5 Search for Tamer one. This one's feeling okay. You just really hate whiffing on this guy, so I've been using him less and less, but I still feel like you kind of got to use him a little bit for what you're doing. And then everything else is pretty self-explanatory for it. The ratios are still kind of up in the air, though. I think you have to run at least 16 Agumon, though. That feels good. If you want to run instead the 2-drop Agumon with 1 Evo cost, that could be a alternative thing to do, just because it can help you get those memory choke your opponent correctly, or get those chokes. So. Or even sometimes, you have to pass exactly 1, or if you have at least 1 analog out, you can pass 2, 3, it stacks, right? This, if you have 3 of these out, you can tap all 3 of these when 1 dies and get the 3 memory back. So the more you have of these, the better, the more memory you have, the more, options you'll have for you. So I think that's good. But obviously, if you need to get to that memory count for your opponent to pass only specific enough when you end your turn, and then go back to your turn, that's kind of so having those 2 drops I think are good. Also, if you just want to have like some, I could see running some like blockers in this variant as well instead of the Aandroidd being as strong as well. I think if you're playing like a bunch of rookies to end your turn but not really do it, and you can successfully do that, being able to just digivolve on top of 1 or 2 for a blocker, I think is good, especially since we're going up into a Skull Greymon if we need to as well. Aandroidd might not be as good for this variant because you want those blockers. But I think this is pretty solid for what we're doing. I normally would only run 4 Digi-Eggs for this build, just because I don't feel like you use them enough. But if you're playing Analog Youth and you want those extra patches, you definitely that 5th egg will come into play and be very handy. So I think that's important. And then also, if you don't like security control, this deck kind of gets around security control as it is, because it does this does 2 damage almost every time it swings, no matter what, and can go up to 3 damage with the inheritable for here. But one, you don't mind too bad if your guys die, but also you want to be able to, I don't know. I don't think you need the security option card to help you out with this guy. So this is, I believe, this build I think is a good start for what you're doing, and I like it. I like Trident Revolver too, and maybe it's still expensive, but just being able to play a tamer off of popping, like, it's just good value, right? Being able to pop one of your opponent's cards and be able to play a tamer, and it gets the same effect in security as well. I think this is kind of nice, and then some Gaia forces to kind of even you out as well. But and that's kind of like why I like Aandroidd. I feel like you have some pretty good security, especially with Geo Greymon being able to pop itself and play itself for free. Just getting something out for free can just like win you the game sometimes. So this is this variant here, and then going to the Gabu-Bond version of it. So somewhat similar, and I haven't played with this variant as much, so excuse the ratios here as well. I think these are just the best Gabu-Bonds, though. I think you just run these all the time. This one gets you card draw. This one helps you find your tamers, which we're running 10 of right now. This one helps you do both, where this is the same thing as the Agumon variant, where you can swing in and you can find a bond of friendship. You can find a tamer, which is one of these. I think that's very helpful, especially like you can digivolve on top of this here, and then you can kind of help search for your Analog Youth. So I'd say like the difference between these 2 builds, and specifically, is that Blue's way better at managing its memory. So if you need to pass a specific amount over, so your opponent doesn't get so you can get the analog to proc to keep it your turn, this deck's way better. Ice Wall is one of the best cards in the game. Being able to do that for one, it feels really good. Hammer Sparks helps you a lot too. Like Ice Wall can just be like the biggest defense in this deck, and you can maybe just like be okay with not running Aandroidd, because if you can like proc 2 of these off and they can't swing at all, then like they lose 4 memory when they swing. They can only swing like 1 spat turn, right? So you can do some silly things with that. Hammer Spark is good too, just helping you get that extra memory swing if you need to as well. And the Lobomon, Quartermon, both these are good. And sometimes you want to be able just to digivolve on top of your Gabu-Mon, and I think there are some, like, if you want to go into like Gorillamon, and if you want Gorillamon to be one of your Digimon, I think that's fine as well. Just being able to just digivolve for 1 and just have a 6k swing in, get this Gabu-Mon effect off if you need to kind of search for your cards. I think that's something that you can do. And once again, if you don't like Aandroidd and you'd rather just have a hard blocker, which I think would make sense for this deck too, just because you're able to, once again, if you're passing over turns, you just have a Gabu-Mon, you can digivolve for 1 over it, get a blocker, and help you out. Survive this next turn, because that's like the biggest thing with these bond decks, is that they're very they can be very tricky. If you don't beat them quick enough, you do a lot of damage to your own security, and then it kind of feels bad. So I feel like that can help you, but maybe I like Aandroidd just to be able to recover, and then like especially with Bond of Friendship, if this thing can swing 2 or 3 times, pop, like this can clear your opponent's board, and then you can play Aandroidd and recover 2. Your opponent probably won't have a good, clean solution for cleaning all this up and doing that damage. But for real, I think Analog Boy is fantastic for what you're doing. And if you want to run like the crazier variant, you can also do it with like Vmon into Vidramon kind of thing. This would help that out as well, because you would be a level 6 with a source, so you can swing in, and then if it dies, you get Analog Boy to trigger that as well. So that's kind of nice. But once again, just the synergy with this, the mat destroying or KOing your own Digimon, and then being able to use Analog Boy to get the effects from that. I think that is pretty strong. But I think that's it for these guys. It's nothing I'd say too crazy, but it is a different variant for it, and it is a little bit of a combo. So I want to know that it works, and if you guys are interested in it, let me know. So if you guys have your own builds of these, let me know, and I want to see them as well, see what your experiences are with them. I still like the red variant a little bit more, but I'm still testing it. But I think both can be kind of viable. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.